What's good, y'all? What's going on with my light? Why ain't my light working? I'm semi on time. It's 12:01. Oh. I was actually early, but sis couldn't be on time. Not on time. Who's on time? No. No. I usually pride myself in being on time. But I also don't want to turn this into something that I resent because I have to be somewhere at a certain time. I know myself and I know that, I guess I've set myself up to not be able to hold routine. Welcome to the live. I'm Lonnie Appleton. I'm a healthy family advocate at the core if you're not familiar with my content. But God has asked me to read the Bible on the internet. So daily I come on the internet and I read the Bible. I read the Bible and I ask questions. And no, I'm not religious at all. I'm a spiritual being. But what God said to me was, my spiritual people have turned their back on this book and all other books associated with religion because what religion has done to the book. So God said, how can you call me on my word if you don't know my word? God said, my people need to know my word so they can use my word. So I am reading this book because I want to be able to use this book. At present, I can only quote, popular verses that have come and stuck in my head. I've been exposed to this book multiple times, either through reading it or listening to it or attending, the church house. But I want to go through it in my field of awareness, level of consciousness today, and interpret it in accordance to what's between this cover and this cover, not in reference to any other knowledge and other, reference points. Just what's here, because most of us, if we have this, most of us only have this. This was actually a gift that happened this way in my house. I haven't bought a Bible since my 20s, and I don't know where my Bible is. My daughter borrowed it, and it disappeared. Yesterday, we were reading Genesis chapter 14. Hold on. And yesterday, I've been dealing with, those of you who are familiar in my platform, you know that I am embarking on building a social media platform, as well as a teaching platform, taking the teaching that I have here online and taking it into the world, speaking engagements, authored. I have 2 books, one in this arena and the other is in urban fiction. But, I have all of these things and turning those into a business. So I'm in the midst of doing that, and my husband and I are really bumping up against each other, and he is in the space of his opening up to whatever his healing journey. He's in the space of his healing journey where he said he is now speaking his mind openly. He was like, well, hopefully, hope you don't get offended. I was like, well, if you already know that you're going to speak your truth and your truth is going to be offensive, why wouldn't you filter? You can speak your truth, but how can you more delicately say it? That is tapping into your feminine energy, myself included, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the point that I was making is, my husband has not been very supportive of. He thinks he's been supportive, but the things that come out of his mouth, I'm just like, okay, you speaking your truth when you don't know you speaking your truth. Yeah, you can be supportive because you pay all the bills and you allow me to stay home and do whatever it is that I want to. That's supportive because it supports you as well. You got to keep a roof over your head and you don't need me to help you do it historically. And so that's support because it's easy. Now, the things that you say to yourself are the things that you say to me are the things that are coming out of your mouth also supportive. So when I read this verse yesterday, it didn't click in yesterday, but then my husband said something else to me later on that day, And I made the parallel to this verse. Genesis chapter 14, verse 22. But Abram said to the king of Sodom with raised hand, I have sworn an oath to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread of a strap of a sandal or a strap of the sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abram rich. And that was through verse 23. So that made me think of the conversation with my husband, to where our financial situation where it is, he hasn't really funded any aspect of this endeavor, and he has been, not truly, in my opinion, supportive of it. He says he's been supportive of it, but he hasn't really been supportive of me, and it's really created a wedge between us, because I'm just like, dude, if you can't support it, don't benefit from it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when this thing does what it's supposed to do, and I know in my heart that this is going to do what it's supposed to do, because I've been told since I was a child that I would be doing this. And so when this thing do what it do, you don't get to show up. Hey, Trini, you don't get to show up and then benefit from it and then act like you've been supportive. So thank you for hopping on and just immediately tapping the screen and showing love. You don't even know what I'm talking about, but you know it's some fire. That's my type of support. I love it. But I made the parallel to that. My husband's not going to be able to say, I made you. No one's going to be able to say they made me except for me. And I will always honor the people like Trinity who supported me along the way. But no one is going to be able to say that they made me except for me and God. Me and God put our heads together, and we were like, yo, God was like, I need this business done in this lifetime, in this timeline. And I was like, I got you. So hopefully you guys were able to take something from yesterday's reading. Today we're going to be reading Genesis chapter 15, the Lord's covenant with Abram. I want you guys to understand the flow of things. I read, I ask questions. I feel like I'm committing blasphemy because I'm questioning the Lord. I'm asking questions because stuff in here don't make sense, but we got to ask questions. If we just settle on, well, it doesn't make sense, or it's contradictory, or, well, my pastor said, if we leave it at that, we'll never, create an anchor point within ourselves to establish true understanding so that we can apply this book to our life. I went to bed and I woke up and I made a complete connection between this verse right here that stuck out to me yesterday. So Spirit was like, pay attention to this verse. And later on that day, the verse became applicable. So just make sure as we read this, you're actually internalizing what we're reading, as well as afterwards taking some time in journaling and just sitting in quiet reflection. If you're not a journaler, I encourage you to journal, because in journaling, you are now keeping a written documentation so that your future generations, or just anyone, you can actually publish your journals. We can self-publish now. Publish your journals so that those who are interested in your thought process, your philosophy, you have now left, a guidebook. Hey, these are my field research notes. You go through your day, you live your life, and you take up all the different things. I have a new journal, you take up all the different things and experiences throughout the day, and you go home and you don't necessarily just write about, today I walked down the street. No, what did walking down the street do for you? And now you do that. Now you're teaching yourself how to think. You're teaching yourself how to philosophize. You're teaching yourself how to, look at my likes are at 444. Let's go ahead and screenshot that and look up what 444 means later. I am a spiritual being. I am not any type of any box. So when God called me to read the Bible and interpret it, I was like, oh Lord, let's go. The Lord's covenant with Abram. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. Off top, he said, don't worry, I am your shield. Y'all understand? We out here talking about, we're protected. Yeah, we are protected because it says right there. Thank you for following, KG. It says right there. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. I am your shield. So anything that's coming up to you, I am your shield. You are protected. I got 18:18 earlier, matched it Bible verse and God confirmation. Isn't that, oh, thank you, no problem. Isn't that awesome? Like, I was asleep the other day and I was like, man, I can't wait till I could be like, Matthew such and such said, and I was asleep. And I was like, wake up and look up that verse so that you can see what it says. And it talked about forgiveness, and it pretty much said, I can't forgive you unless you forgive others. I was like, dang. So this little beef this little chasm that I'm trying to have with my husband, I can't even have him. I can't even hold him accountable the way that I want to hold him accountable, meaning that's my million over there because you didn't believe in what I'm doing and you called me a deadbeat. And that's your 100,000 over there. You keep that over there. Don't touch my money that you didn't believe in and didn't support. We can't become one. We can't cleave into each other and become one if I am holding resentment towards him. So all the things that are happening in this journey are all things for me to work through, not for me to move into old familiar energy of division. So there is work to be done, and this is the tool I'm using, and I'm protected along the way. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, that can you give me since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, you have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. You see how important our children are? They are our heirs. They're not just people we popped out of our poom poom. No. They are our legacy, so we need to pay attention to how we are cultivating our legacy. Then the word of the Lord came to him, this man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. He took him outside and said, look up at the sky and count the stars. If indeed you can count them. Then he said to him, so shall your offspring be. He said, I'm about to multiply you beyond what you can even count. Abram believed the Lord, and I'm one of Abram's offspring, so did he count on me? Abram believed the Lord, and he credit. I really can read, y'all. I don't know why my eyes aren't working, but I really can read, except for when I get to these goddamn names. I'd be like, He credited it to him as righteousness. He also said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of the Chaldeans to give you this land to take possession of it. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it? How will I know? Tell me how will I know? You telling me, but how will I know? Like, you promised me a lot. Maybe I promised myself. I don't know. But there's a lot of promises on my life. How will I know? Because I've been out here all my life, grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. I need to know when. Shoot, let me know. Whew. He also said, so the Lord said to him, bring me a heifer. Let me take some notes. Go on, get y'all's heifer. I remember we were driving by, and I ramble if you're not familiar with me, but the rambles are relevant. I remember we were driving by a thing that had, what do you call those things? Sheep. And my daughter at the time was going to a Christian private school. And she was like, Mom, we should get one of the sheeps and sacrifice it. She was like 5 or 6. I was like, Lord Jesus, what are they teaching you at that school? So the Lord said to him, bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Do you see how specific God is? God didn't just say a heifer, a goat, and a ram. He said a heifer, a goat, and a ram. He didn't just say an animal. He said a heifer, a goat, and a ram. The power of 3. But he came through with the pigeon. He said, along with a dove and a young pigeon. I thought a dove and a pigeon was the same thing. Apparently they're done. This is different. And, ooh, they're young. Sacrifice young. That just made me think of the stuff they say about what they be doing to children in Hollywood. Because each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Abram brought all these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. The bird, however, he did not cut in half. Then birds of prey came down on the carcass, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and a dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and then that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. In the 4th generation, your descendants will come back here, for the skin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. When the sun had set and the darkness had fallen, a smoking fire pot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said, to your descendants I give this land, for the wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of the Canaanites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Raphites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. All right. I'm going to stop there. Because God said, I'm going to increase you and multiply beyond measure. But he said, before I increase you and multiply you beyond measure, you're going to go through 400 years of darkness. And then after that, it's up. So the reason why I want to bring that up is because those of you who feel that your blessing is just going to be roses, that's not a blessing, that's a temptation. Because God just told you, based off of what we read here, based off of my interpretation, based off of you going later and pondering by yourself and figuring this out for yourself. But what I am receiving is, in order for you to be prepared for your blessing, you must be prepared for your blessing. So let's say that you are in a bowl and you're put in there and you have all your different ingredients. I want to be XYZ. Okay, in order for you to be XYZ, you got to put in all these different ingredients, but all these ingredients cannot gel together until they are gelled together, which means they must be pressed down and beat and pounded into togetherness and to become one. You know what I'm saying? When you're making a cake, you got your flour, you got your sugar, you got your eggs, you got your. I don't know how to cook, but you know what the ingredients are. You know, you have all your separate ingredients. You put all your separate ingredients in the bowl, and you just got separate ingredients in one container. How do you get those things to combine? You got to mix it together. Now, if flour had a filling, if egg had a filling, if sugar had a filling, what do you think it feels like to be mixed up like that? It's not going to feel good, but after it's done being mixed and blended, it becomes a new substance. It is no longer flour, it is no longer egg, it is no longer sugar, it is a cake batter. It's not a cake yet. There's all these different processes and steps that you must go through to become the finished product. So what I received, this darkness that we're going to go through, would be in essence the dark night of the soul. But the purpose of the dark night of the soul isn't for us to go into it and just be suffering. It's for us to go into it and for us to be pressed down, blended, and molded and created into what it is we need to become. So we are being prepared. Preparation. We can't go from 0 to 100 real quick without preparation. Me and my daughter, when we were on live last night, we were talking about the difference between, a blessing and a deal. And so they're both deals, but some of those deals are with the devil. And so a blessing is, it's going to be the long way around. But when you take the long way around, as you're taking the long way around, you can choose to be prepared and be ready for when you get to the blessing. Or you can still, go around, woe is me. And when the blessing hits, it becomes a curse because you did not take the opportunity in the darkness to prepare yourself. We must prepare ourselves, and that was 2023. 2023 was the darkness that we had to go through in order to get to the light that is 2024. Spirit, I believe like I believe. I don't know what nobody else's experience is going to be. I understand we are collectively connected and we all going through it at the same time and we all coming up at the same time. But I already told God, I'm not doing another 2023. I did it in 2022. I did it in 2021. I did it in 2020. God damn it, I have done it for 42 years. 2024 is my breakout year, and 2024 is your breakout year if you have been learning, being prepared for when that blessing hits. And it's hitting right now. Amen. And so, when it's a deal, shoot, you ain't got to prepare. What you want? You want to be rich? I got you. Oh, you want that girl? I got you. Oh, you want, I got you. No work necessary. Ain't no darkness necessary. Ain't no stretching and pressing and beating down and no darkness necessary. And off top, if you know there's no sacrifice on your part, good sacrifice. The sacrifices that I have made over the year of 2023 has grown me to be an amazing human. I didn't have to sacrifice. I didn't have to bend myself over and leave myself bleeding to sacrifice to get where I am going. I sacrificed that which no longer served me. I sacrificed the bad attitude. I sacrificed cussing my kids out. I sacrificed having a chasm between me and my husband. I sacrificed all those things when I pray. It's an energetic exchange. So when I pray, God, remove from me that which does not serve me in this lifetime across timelines. Take it. You can have it. Yeah, I love my saucy attitude, but if my saucy attitude ain't serving me, take it. I'll be bland. I'll be salt and pepper. I ain't got to be seasoned all no more. That's okay. Take what does not serve me so that I can now be filled with what does. So that's just what that right there reminds me of. Angels at school. For the sin of the Amorites. So the Lord said to bring me the heifer, punish the nation, the birds away. When the sun set and the darkness had fallen, and smoking fire pot had blazed and the torch appeared. Okay, boom, here we go. Chapter 16. Genesis chapter 16. Hagar and Ishmael. I done heard about Hagar now. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go and sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Already sounds messy, y'all. Abram agreed to what Sarai said, so after I just want to know the conversations. I just need to know the conversations. Your wife comes to you and says, babe, I haven't had any children for you. Go have a baby with the servant. Did he just say, okay? Or was he just like, no, that just don't really make no sense, I just need to know the conversations. Abram had been living in Canaan 10 years. Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar and she conceived. Now, how many times did he sleep with Hagar? Did a love affair start? Was he like sneaking by Hagar and brushing his hand along her back? Like, how did this happen? Or was it just transactional? There's levels too. I said you could have a baby with the chick. I didn't tell you could fall in love with her. I just need to know. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. She was like, yeah, buddy, I'm in here like swimwear. What you gonna do? You done messed up, Sarai. Then Sarai said to Abram, you are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me. It's your fault. No accountability. It's all your fault. May the Lord judge between you and me. Dang, God be throwing, nobody has taken accountability yet in the Bible. Not one person. It's everybody else's fault. And we punishing off top. Oh, you done killed your brother? Smite, smite, smite. Oh, you done did that? Smite, smite, smite. I don't even know if I'm using the word smite right, but everybody's being punished. Ain't no explanations. Ain't no teachings going on. Nobody's taking accountability. God ain't even taking accountability. In my opinion, God has not given enough direction. God has only said, don't eat from that tree or you gonna die. Why, God? God said, I don't like your offering. It was displeasing to me, Cain and Abel. So be more like your brother. So now he automatically pitting brother against brother. God done been on some shady stuff. I'ma keep it G. If we are looking at the way that humans, because that's all we got humans, the way that we're supposed to be interacting and communicating and sharing, God just be like, I'm law. Period. You're out. Well, what did I do? I don't know. Maybe there's some conversations that have been taken that I just don't know, but ain't no explaining taking place. And I think that's problematic because we don't explain nothing to our children. We just come through, I'm the law, and you broke the law. Here's your punishment. No explanation. When she knew she was pregnant, your slave is in your hands, Abram said. Do with her whatever you think best. Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. So he said, I ain't got nothing to do with that. I didn't do nothing to that girl. I just, do what you told me to do. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was a spring that is beside the road of Shur. And he said, Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? I'm running away from my mistress Sarai, she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. Dang, it said, I know you've been being mistreated, but go back and submit to her. The angel added, I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. Then the angel Lord also said to her, you are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility towards all his brothers. Now, I'm going to stop here because right now I'm dropping a series about, not analyzing Kanye saying slavery was a choice, but just coming to a place of understanding that it wasn't a choice like they chose to be slaves. That's too simplistic. We got to stop being so dang simplistic with the way that we think. He said slavery was a choice, so people chose to be slaves. That's stupid. Yeah, that is stupid. What people chose, as Hagar chose, to go back into mistreatment for her legacy. She chose legacy. She chose life. She chose her family. That's what she chose. She chose relationship with God. So when he says slavery was a choice, there are people who chose not to be slaves. But there are other people who chose, I'm going to endure what I need to endure because whatever their reasons were. I can't even begin to conceptualize. But when I was recording those videos, I was like, y'all got me stepping in all kinds of crap right now. I'm just like, because I deliver messages, I'm a channel. So I'm delivering these messages, and I'm like, God, you got me stepping in all kinds of poop right now. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to publish these videos. And God was like, do as I said. And so it's crazy. At the time that I'm publishing these videos that are talking about slavery, the angel of the Lord literally went up to Hagar and told her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. Choose to be mistreated because God told you to. Because on the other side of that mistreatment, on the other side of that darkness, Abram ain't the only one that got to go through the darkness to get through the light. Hagar had to go through the darkness to get through the light. You got to go through the darkness to get through the light. We are not exceptions. If we are followers of God, however you follow, multiple pathways to one God. If you are a follower and you are going through your life and you are living in darkness, there's a disconnect somewhere, because there's always light at the end of the darkness. It ain't just darkness. So if you have gone through your entire life as a follower of God, I'm going to just say it. If you have gone through your life as a follower of God and you have not experienced light, it's because you have not done the work necessary to actually click in. That's why you have the 400 years. That's why you have the endless, the cycles, because you have not clicked in with the level of awareness and knowledge, to be able to click in and take yourself, because you are God, to be able to take yourself into the light. You cannot take yourself into the light if you do not know God. God is you. You are God. If you do not know yourself, you cannot create light. So if you have continuously and perpetually created darkness within your life, that is your own limitation. You are not being punished because we were told off top. We only on page 12, and we were told there's always going to be a season of darkness before there is a blessing, and a blessing pressed down, overflowing, so much so that you are not the lender. No, you are not the borrower, you are the lender. That's what the Bible says, so that's what I heard. We gonna find out for real, once we get to them chapters. But right now we here. The angel of the Lord also said to her, you are now pregnant and you will give birth to a son. Call him Ishmael. The Lord has heard your misery. Okay, she gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. This is why the well was called Bir Lahai Roy. It is still there between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram's son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son she had born. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. The covenant of the circumcision. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am God Almighty. Walk before me faithfully and be blameless. Then I will we make the mistake of thinking being faithful and blameless is a perfect walk. Ain't no such thing as perfection. It's just refining. We are born perfect. We are born pop out the poon, perfect. And immediately the crap starts getting piled on us by those which we were born to. So, to be faithful and blameless isn't to be perfect. It is just for you to be pleasing to God, in my opinion. So people are like, oh my gosh, she's cussing. Oh my gosh. There's some people who feel the fact that I'm bending my Bible like that is an offense to God. So there's no, it's fine. You can lay there. You don't have to lay over here, and don't start whining. Then go be tired over there. You don't have to be on me. Mommy's working. I'm not going to argue with you. You're more than welcome to go get in your bed and continue your nap. But otherwise, if you are here, please be quiet. We just have to understand that being blameless is subjective. I'm blameless, but I'm sure there's people out there like, oh my gosh. That's all right, because, oh my God, he's all right with me. Then I will make my covenant between me and you and will greatly increase your numbers. Abram fell face down, and God said to him, as for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram, and your name will be Abraham. For I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you very fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you. He said kings will come from you. So that means I am a queen. I am royalty. Why? If kings will come from Abraham, and I'm going to say queens as well, royalty will come from Abraham, and I have to choose whether I am a descendant of Abraham that is a peasant or is of royal blood. Who gonna check me, boo? I'm a queen, so I must move as royalty does, because I'm certainly not choosing to be the peasant that came from Abraham. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you for the generations to come, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. The whole land of Canaan, where you now reside as a foreigner, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants after you, and I will be their God. Then God said to Abraham, as for you, you must keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you for the generations to come. This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you, the covenant you are to keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You are to undergo circumcision, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. For the generations to come, every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised, including those born in your household or bought with money from a foreigner. Those who are not your offspring, whether born in your household or bought with your money, they must be circumcised. My covenant in your flesh is to be an everlasting covenant. Any circumcised male who has not been circumcised in the flesh, any uncircumcised male who has not been circumcised in the flesh will be cut off from his people. He has broken the covenant. God also said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. I will bless her so that she will be the mother of nations. Kings of people will be from her. Abraham fell face down. He laughed and said to himself, will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? And Abraham said to God, if only Ishmael might live under your blessing. Then God said, yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year. When he had finished speaking with Abraham, God went up from him. So God used to just come down and talk to people. That's pretty dope. On that very day, Abraham took his son Ishmael and all those born in his household or bought with his money. Hey, will you lock the door when you leave? Thank you. His money, every male in his household, and circumcised him. and circumcised them as God told him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised. I wonder who circumcised Abraham. Well, did somebody help? Like, bye. Love you too. Who did the first circumcisions? Like, that had to be God. Like, God, they had to channel God, because who, like, where's the measurements for the circumcision? He done gave measurements for the ark. He done gave measurements for the altars. He done gave measurements for everything. Who told these people how to do the circumcision? I just need to know, because that's a delicate surgery right there. What tools did they use? And they didn't have no anesthesia. Dang. And he was 99 when that happened. That man was in some pain. I don't know nothing about a circumcision, but I hear they're painful. Abraham and his son Ishmael were both circumcised on that very day, and every male in Abraham's household, including those born in his household or bought from a foreigner, was circumcised with them. The Bible repeats stuff, and I remember a pastor once saying that God doesn't repeat things for no reason. Like, there's a reason, but there's a lot of repetition in the Bible. There's a lot of missing information. I need to know the stories. I need to know the story of the day that the whole camp got circumcised. Hey, Carby, I just need to know the group circumcision. What was that like? Chapter 18. The three visitors. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great tree of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. Abraham looked up and saw three men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance, so clearly he had recovered by this time, and of his tent to meet them, and bowed low to the ground. Oh yeah, he was well recovered by this time. He said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under this tree. Let me get you something to eat so you can be refreshed and then go on your way. Now that you have come to your servant." Very well, they answered. So this says, the Lord appeared to Abraham near the great tree of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. Abraham looked up and saw three men. So maybe what we would identify as intuition told him that these three men were important, because while I'm reading this, I'm like, why is he just going to run up to three random strangers and treat them brotherly? Because I'm receiving this, that we need to be nicer to each other. We need to meet each other with intuition, right? We need to know, okay, but we need to vibe a little bit better. This little that we always got between us, simply because we're human to human and we gotta, let me make sure you okay. It said the Lord appeared to Abraham and then he saw the people. So if you are walking with God, the people that are being presented to you are the people that you could at least be hospitable to. Do you need anything? I was walking through the grocery store parking lot and I saw this older black woman pushing her cart, and I just smiled at her and she just smiled back, and I just smiled at her, and she was like, "Ain't you just smiling?" I was like, I don't know, I just see another, beautiful black woman walking through the parking lot. How are you today? And she was like, "I'm doing good. How are you?" I was like, "I'm great." I was just like, "I just want to give you a hug." So I'm giving this random woman a hug, and she's like, "Oh, it was New Year's Eve. So whatever day of the week that was. And I was just like, "You're doing okay?" And Spirit was like, offer to help her. And I was like, "Do you need help with your groceries?" And she was just like, "Do you work here?" And I was like, "No, I don't work here. I just see another, a fellow human." But I said a fellow black woman, and my elder. I see my elder, and if you need help, I'm here to help you. And she's like, "Well, everything in here is light, so I should be okay." And I understand in 2023 at the time, you can't really trust people. But when you know that you're being guided and you're being led, we can let some of those defenses down. Play it smart. But, let's love on each other. You see your elder struggling. You see a child struggling. You see your peer struggling. Just offer them a hand. Like, I see people in the little rolly scooters and they need something off the top shelf, and I just automatically offer, "Hey, did you need me to grab that for you?" Let's just start looking out for each other. That's what I received from that. So Abram hurried into the tent to Sarah. Quick, he said, get 3 seahs of the finest flour and knead it and bake some bread. You see how the flour had to become bread? Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice tender calf and gave it to the servant, who hurried to prepare it. He then brought some curd and milk and the calf that had been prepared and set these before them. While they ate, he stood near them under a tree. Where is your wife Sarah? They asked him. There in the tent, he said. Then one of them said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. Now Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were already very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, after I was worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure? Sis said after she is worn out. I know that's right. This ain't popping no more babies. My last baby almost took my whole bottom out. I literally was like, every baby set a little bit lower. I could barely walk with Caden. It was terrible. Then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? No, nothing is too hard for the Lord. Nothing is too hard for the Lord. Amen. Amen. Ashe. It is received. I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Sarah was afraid, so she lied and said, I didn't laugh. But he said, yes, you did. Take accountability, sis. You got called out on something that was heard, and you still over here lying. Come on now, sis. And you lying to God? We lying to God. God seeing you do it, and you still trying to lie. The proof is evident in your actions and your behaviors and your manifestation. You still want to lie to yourself. You can't lie to me. I don't care. But you're lying to yourself. And when you're lying to yourself, you're lying to God because you are God. And what is lying to yourself going to yield? What fruit, my dear Vaughn? How are you? What fruit are you yielding by lying to yourself? We over here reading the Bible, Vaughn. I know it's a different vibe than what we used to, but that's what we doing. God said, read the Bible. I was like, okay. So that's what we doing. Abraham pleads for Sodom. When the men got up to leave, they looked down toward Sodom, and Abraham walked along with them to see them on their way. Then the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Abraham will surely become a great, powerful nation, and all nations on earth will be blessed through him. For I have chosen him so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just, so that the Lord will bring about for Abraham what he has promised him. Do you understand? In order to receive the Lord's promises, you must raise your household to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just. Some of y'all feel like you're raising your family in the way of the Lord and doing what is just and right, but you're not. I'm going to just leave it like that because I'm not in your household, but the proof is in the manifestation. The proof is in the reality. Cat Williams, I just watched his interview, and he was raised in a very strict Jehovah's Witness place to where him and his father got in a physical altercation, and at 13, he found himself at a truck stop hitchhiking from Ohio, I believe, to Florida. How are you raising your children in a household that is just and right, and the result of you raising your child is your child leaving your home at 13, and the better choice is to go hitchhike at a truck stop? I just think we need to do some reevaluating is all. Then the Lord said, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great, and their sin so grievous, that I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will know. The men turned away and went toward Sodom, but Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Then Abraham approached him and said, will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really sweep it away and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous people in it? Yes. Okay, well, you're going to have to wait. Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, treating the righteous and the wicked alike. Far be it from you. Will not the judge of all of the earth do right? I think T.D. Jakes read this. I think T.D. Jakes was Abraham in the Bible experience, because I think I hear T.D. Jakes saying that. The Lord said, if I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Uh-oh. Then Abraham spoke up again. Now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, though I am nothing but dust and ashes, what if the number of the righteous is 5 less than 50? Will you destroy the whole city for the lack of 5 people? If I find 45 there, he said, I will not destroy it. Once again he spoke to him. What if only 40 are found there? He said, for the sake of 40, I will not do it. Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak. What if only 30 can be found there? He answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Abraham said, now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, what if only 20 can be found there? He said, for the sake of 20, I will not destroy it. Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak just once more. What if only 10 can be found there? He answered, for the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. God said that they will not destroy for the sake of the presence of the righteous. Somebody got to be upright and righteous, y'all. Somebody out of the billions of people on this earth, at least one of us, can save all of us. You see how we are the collective. You see how we are all interconnected. You are I and I am you. I save you, you save me. If we, at least one of us, and we got to live right for all of us. That was deep right there for me. Chapter 19, Sodom and Gomorrah. The 2 angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. So they were angels. At the beginning it said it was men, but now we know that they're angels. All right. And Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city when he saw them. He got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered, we will spend the night in the square. But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and enter his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them. Sounds like Hollywood to me, y'all. Lot went outside to meet them, shut the door behind him, and said, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. That just pissed me off. The patriarchy of it all, the misogynisticness of it all. He said, leave these men's virginity alone, but you can take my children. You can do what you want with my women. Spare these men. He was willing to throw his children to the wolves, his female. And do you understand that it's still happening today? Somebody commented with this whole Cat Williams thing where he was talking about how they all get an ugly faced light skinned wife, as part of their package deal. And someone commented, they were like, all these people who are coming out to defend themselves against what Cat Williams said, not one of them have defended their wives. I remember posting a video back, or at least I recorded the video, where my husband was in a conflict with a fellow barber, a fellow brother of his, and in their back and forth, he exposed the fact that when me and my husband were just talking and, he showed him a picture that I sent to him, a nude that I sent to my husband. My husband showed him for whatever reason. He wasn't my husband at the time. And I was just like, yo, if you're beefing with my husband, how did I enter the chat? Like, why is throwing me under the bus part of the thing? Why is throwing the woman into the conversation? Why is revealing a woman's history? Like, when all these men are sitting around spilling tea about such and such, why is it, when so-and-so, he slept with so-and-so, and like throwing a female under the bus? So the first time we see a female being thrown under the bus was actually Eve, even though Eve did it. She did it. What they said Eve did that. But what I'm saying is, when God said, what have you done? He's like, it's that woman you gave to me. She the reason why I ate that apple. Just threw it right under the bus. Didn't take accountability for himself. Just threw the woman under the bus. And now we see Lot. Like, yo, I got 2 daughters. They fresh. Ain't never been touched. I'd rather you defile them than mess with these men. And I just think that's terrible. And that speaks to how women are treated in society today. They've been being dogged out. So it's going to take a conscious effort to not dog them out, because it's embedded, it's ingrained. And then it was a culture for all of the men, young and old, from Sodom and Gomorrah, but from Sodom, I believe, to come down. They found out there was fresh men, because there's clearly fresh women there. They found out there were fresh men in the vicinity, and everybody came like vultures to attack, because it was the culture. And it's crazy that I'm reading this chapter at the time that I'm dropping the video series that I'm dropping about the fall of Black Hollywood. When I recorded that video series, I felt, I was just like, this is too risky. This is too risky. A lot of my content that I put out is risky because I am going against the grain. We have to ask the questions that we have been told not to ask. We have to ask the questions that we've been afraid to ask, and we have to ask the questions in order to actually do the theorizing to come to the truth for us. And so I'm going to say a lot of things, and I'm going to post a lot of things, and I'm going to read into a lot of things that are highly offensive to people, because we have been taught not to ask questions. But I question everything. I'm able to ascend to higher consciousness because I am constantly in analytical mode. And what I just read, when men young and old came and said, yo, bring them out. All that said to me was that was the culture. That's Hollywood. That's the culture. If you enter into that culture, you do as you do in that culture. And I don't believe anyone that is within that culture is clean, especially if you have black skin. Now it may be different going forward because everything is being exposed. That which has been done in the dark is now coming to light, which means that restructuring must take place. That means that, yes, going forward, you don't get to knock on the door and say, bring them out, bring them out. You don't get to violate me because I don't want it that bad, and I know that's what it is, and you can't trick me into it. But understand that all of that, what I received, was all of that is almost a part of the contract. I must have something to blackmail you against in order to allow your black ass up in here. Because I need you to know that you are my puppet and I can bring you down at any time because you have did something that you violated your integrity for. I'm not going to say what they did was wrong. I'm saying that they bent their integrity. We could be speaking as something as simple as a man wearing a dress. Kevin Hart, I believe, said he would never wear a dress, and Kevin Hart has worn dresses. So they get you to bend your integrity, but on the other end of that integrity bending, you get what your heart has desired. But what we need to understand is that when it is a true blessing from God, yes, it's a long way around. But when you take the long way around, you don't have to bend your integrity. Get out of our way, they replied. This fellow came here as a foreigner and now he wants to play the judge? We'll treat you worse than them. Dang. They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door, but the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door in the house, young and old, with blindness, so they could not find the door. Dang, they deserved it. That was some nasty stuff. You ain't just gonna come and try to take my booty. The two men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here, son-in-law, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belong to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against his people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place because the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his son-in-laws thought he was joking. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away with the city when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand in the hands of his wife and of his 2 daughters. Like, did these people not hear about Noah's Ark? God don't play. Like, that was real. Like, if God told me God's going to destroy something and I just know, grandpappy of grandpappy, God destroyed the whole ark situation, I'm going to take it seriously. His 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, flee for your lives. Don't look back and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains or you will be swept away. Whew. Y'all got to be more detailed. Don't tell me I'm going to be swept away. Tell me I'm going to be turned into a pillar of salt so I know it's real. But Lot said to them, no, my lords, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me in sparing my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared. He said to him, very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it. That is why the town is called Zor. By the time Lot reached Zor, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all those living in the cities and also the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back and she became a pillar of salt. God dang it, Lot's wife. You wasn't supposed to be that curious. Don't be curious. Be obedient. Curiosity killed Lot's wife, not the cat, the wife. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down towards Sodom and Gomorrah, towards all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land like smoke from a furnace. Dang. And it was probably black. When he hesitated, the man grasped his hand. The Lord, so Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws. Dang, the son-in-laws got it too. Dang, I bet you they was watching that. Them fireballs coming, they were like, dang, we should have listened. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. There was something I wanted to talk about, but when the men came, they said they were going to go sleep in this town center. But Lot said, nah, stay with me. And the reason why I want to bring that up is the Lord's going to find you wherever you're at. God's going to give you the answers wherever you're at. Okay, the men were like, we about to go to the town center. Lot was like, nah, stay here. The men were like, cool. But God needed to see if there were righteous men there or a righteous person in Sodom and Gomorrah in order to not destroy it. So even though the men did not enter the city, I believe, from what I read, the men did not enter the city as they intended, but the city came to them. So understand that there's no accidents, there's no coincidence. Man plan, God's the best of planners. So even though you say this is what I want to do or this is the pathway that I want to take, understand that God's work in your life is going to be accomplished, whether it is done according to your plan or not, because it is always God's plan. Therefore, they did not make it to the center of the city, but the center of the city came to them and identified that there is not a righteous being here. Therefore, the city got destroyed, period, because that was God's plan. So the point I'm making is just focus on God's plan. The execution is the execution. What's for you will find you. You will attract what's for you, what needs to get done in this lifetime. As long as you are on path, doing the work, it's going to find you. What needs to get done is going to get done. Lot and his daughters. We need to finish up for the day, so I'll read this last bit. Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. What? Oh, the wife died. One day this is that story. Salacious and scandalous. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. One day the older daughter said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine and then sleep with him and preserve our family line through our father. That night they got their father to drink wine, and the older daughter went in and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. This was the first essay in the Bible, and it was committed by women. Dang. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, last night I slept with my father, and it was incestuous. This is just some gnarly stuff here. First, you got the Sodom and Gomorrah taking of the booty, and now you got the incestual essay of your father from the daughter. Last night I slept with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you go in and sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through our father. So they got their father to drink wine the night also, and the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. That was some strong wine, man. So both of Lot's daughter became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son. Now, did Lot say, how did y'all get pregnant? We the only ones out here in this cave. I need to know these conversations. They just be jumping way too fast in the Bible. I need the backstory of he woke up 3 months in, both these chicks pregnant, and he like, yo, what happened? Are they gonna say, yo, I got pregnant by my betrothed before we left Sodom and Gomorrah? Like, explain these baby bumps, sis. Crazy. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son, and she named him Moab, and he is the father of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also had a son, and she named him Ben Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites of today. All right, so we're going to stop today. Tomorrow we'll read chapter 20. But wouldn't that be something if they slept with their dad and they had daughters? They wouldn't have been able to carry on the family name because they had girls. That would have been the ultimate Gucci gotcha. That was some craziness. So I think we had some good discussion in relation to what we read today. Make sure you get your journals and reflect on what you received from your reading, not from what I said. What I say is only to spark your thought and to be able to start figuring out how to conceptualize the Bible so that it becomes a part of your life and your daily walk in a way that is meaningful to you. And so that is why I am sitting here reading the Bible, so that we all can now bring it into our daily lives and actually use it for the tool that it is. Make sure you check out my website, LonnieLifestyle.com. Pick up your merch, pick up my books, book your coaching sessions. Definitely, if you don't already follow the content, give us a follow. Start consuming the content and just start thinking. I'm not out here because I think I'm an authority in anything. I'm out here because I just want to show what's possible. And it's not even what I want. I was called in 2013 to demonstrate the possibilities through showing my life and living my life out loud. What I'm doing today, I've been doing since 2013, being transparent in hopes that other people understand that, hey, I can be honest and truthful and grow and admit that I'm flawed and still be okay. You know, we mask because we want to be liked. No, if we release the mask and we actually become into our authenticity, now we can truly become okay with ourselves. And when we become okay with ourselves, we attract people who will become okay with us. All right, so have a wonderful day, guys.